So, Kwaku and his three Mormons crew are telling us here that the first vision of Joseph Smith in 1820 was the real deal. God told them so, and they're going to talk about their feelings and testimony and tell us that it's proof that it happened and that God speaks to man. So, welcome to the Dodger Game channel. You're watching a Mormon Truth video, and a few days ago I did something on this particular episode of Kwaku and the Three Mo's, but today I'm going to be really concise about what they said, how they tell us we can gain knowledge of truth, and take a look at a few factual items very quickly and concisely. This guy right there is saying something important. He's saying, did you know that there are multiple versions of the first vision told by Joseph Smith? Yeah. Well, out of the 9 versions, supposedly 4 came directly from Joseph Smith. They're filled with contradictions, and we got some issues with that. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this video we got in the lower right. It's called Joseph Smith's First Vision Accounts on LDS.org, Gospel Topics Essays. And I'm going to look at it right here. It says that the facts contradict the historicity of any 1820 vision, which these guys say that God told them is real. So let's see what they have to say.
Where do Mormons come from?
It seems a bit silly because we claim we're the one true church, yet our church started in the 1800s. So how can that be? Well,
That's true. So, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints came from a very important beginning, which was a boy. His name was Joseph Smith, and he had a question. He had doubts. He wanted to know what church he needed to join. And so he asked Heavenly Father. It was a simple question that brought about such a great restoration of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And that's why we're here today. You know, people like Mormons, that's why we're here today, is because of this small, simple question that Joseph Smith had.
I think it's really cool that Joseph Smith, he wasn't some big leader in his community. He was a 14-year-old boy when he had this question, and he took it to the scriptures first, and he was looking and reading and studying, and it was James 1:5, where it says,
if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not.
You know, to summarize that, it's if you have a question, ask God, and he'll give it to you liberally. He won't hold it back. He will let you know. So that's what Joseph wanted to do.
Yeah, you can ask God. You can directly ask God. You don't really have to ask, your whoever person. You can ask your parents, you can ask your youth pastor, whoever, but God first. Ask God. You can do it, and he'll answer you.
and when you ask God questions, you can receive miraculous answers. Maybe not in the exact way that Joseph Smith did, but in ways that can help you in your life. God kind of gave him a big responsibility in being the only person on earth who knew that none of the churches were right. But instead, Joseph Smith, he took that to heart, and he believed in his experience, and he knew it, and he went and told everybody about it.
So he himself said, well, if it didn't happen to me, I probably wouldn't believe it either.
I wouldn't have. I would have been hard to understand. But if you listen to the Spirit, when you study the first vision and you try and recognize the feelings that you feel, it's impossible to not believe it if you're really listening. You might receive an answer on a different timeline than maybe Joseph Smith did, and it might be in a really different way. And it's okay if you don't receive that answer through heavenly beings in your bedroom or out in the woods. It's okay if you receive that answer just as a confirmation in your heart that what you're doing is right, or that what you're doing needs a little bit of a course correction.
I want to say, one of the most beautiful things about the first vision is that it claims heavenly presence recently. There's a lot of people where it's very difficult for them to identify with certain things in the Bible because it is so ancient, because it's so old. Well, with Joseph Smith and with the restoration of the gospel, we know that heavenly beings and God speaks today. It brings the ancient
word, but he's preparing those that are humble, that are simple, that are open to the gospel.
And I will personally say, I'm a convert, and when I prayed about this with real intent, I knew.
The first vision is proof that God didn't leave us alone on earth today, that he still speaks to his children on the earth, and that his...
Again, the video, get the whole title here. Gospel Topics Essays, Proven Not Historical. Is that a bold claim? Here we go. Well, let's find out. Back to the recording of this. So I'm just going to skip through here really quickly. 1820, 14 years old. Is that what his family thinks? Well, quick answer, no. They never heard of such a thing. So on LDS.org, by the way, we've got multiple web pages about the first vision. There are some that assume that you know nothing about the many versions of it, and then there's this one that blends aspects of several of them together, tries to make it into like the harmonizing of the Gospels. In other words, take contradicting stories, throw out the contradictions, find some similarities, and create your own new story, a narrative composite account here. Yeah. They even got a little film based on it. So, in other words, they recreate a different story out of portions of the way he told it differently. Meaning, they decide, okay, we'll pick when he's 14 instead of the one that is 15 or the one that he's 16. We'll pick the one where God and Jesus were there rather than when it was just Jesus or just an angel. We'll pick one where he didn't have any idea, or that all the churches could be wrong, or maybe they'll pick one where he said he knew that they were all wrong already. So we've got, and maybe one where he gets attacked by the devil, or one where he doesn't get attacked by the devil. All kinds of differences here. So, or they got the one where his accounts. Okay, first vision accounts. That's where they try to tell us he was just saying things differently to different people, except for he couldn't remember how old he was when he saw God. Anyway. They don't usually tell you about this in Sunday school. They just go with the 1842 published version, which is the only one where God the Father happens to appear. Anyway, his brother William became an apostle, with Joseph Smith in the church there, and he was interviewed over and over during his life about Joseph Smith's life and first vision and so forth. And in his narratives, he's always saying, well, it all got started in 1823, not 1820, with Joseph Smith. Talks about the family going to these revivals and so forth. And Joseph Smith's brother Alvin died, unfortunately, in 1823 November. That sounds to me like it should have been a little bit after the revivals, because they'd be in the warm weather. But, yeah, Joseph Smith was seeking religion in these, and so we've got account after account. There are about 4 of them by William, where he's been interviewed during his lifetime, and he's always talking about 1823, Joseph's 17 years old, and then the accounts on what he's in the woods, and an angel appears to him. One of them is, they sound like the ones that as Angel Moroni. Of course, they were published as the Angel Nephi during Joseph's lifetime, at least 3 different times, including in the Pearl of Great Price. But I believe it was Orson Pratt that changed it to say it was Angel Moroni. So here we go. Evening of the 21st, Joseph Smith was praying. This is when the Angel Moroni thing's supposed to happen. What is he praying about? He's praying to know if a supreme being did exist. In 1823, would you be praying to know if there's a supreme being that exists 3 years after you saw God face to face? Would you? No. But this is what Oliver Cowdery published in the church's publication there. Was it Messenger and Advocate, or one of those publications that they did? He was like second in command there with the church with Joseph Smith. So, yeah, Oliver Cowdery never heard of any 1820 vision. The Messenger and Advocate, right there. The all-important information if a supreme being did exist. So time after time, we've got Joseph Smith's family getting involved with these, religious revivals, 1823 or so. And Joseph Smith being one of the hopeful converts, that sort of a thing. Or Joseph Smith praying to find out if God existed in 1823. Here's 1828. He's getting kicked out of the Methodist Church Sunday School. And this is documented, by their elders, or whatever they call them, because they needed to justify why they booted him. And it's because he was a practicing necromancer. Yeah, doing the sacrificing black animals in magic circles with a magic knife, slitting their throats and all that kind of thing. Because they're digging inside the circle for, like Captain Kidd's treasure or whatever. Because he was the leader with his seer stone. He was a magician. And these guys kicked him out for being a necromancing magician. In other words, practicing black magic. Sacrificing animals. Kind of, is it that much different from what the Jews do? Animal sacrifice? Except for they're doing it like in the middle of the night and It's a little spookier, maybe. Another one. More and more. 1823, and then his family joins the Methodist, the Presbyterian Church, because Alvin was dead, which happened in 1823, and they were upset about it. Yeah, they go to these meetings, where all these preachers are, because they wanted to find some comfort, because Alvin died. Would they be doing that if all of these preachers were persecuting Joseph Smith, like he says in his story, and causing everybody to hate him because he had supposedly told a Methodist minister about his experience that we hear about from the 1820 account? The one that says it was 1820, but it was 1842, 2 years before he died is when this thing was published. This thing that everybody thinks how lovely was the morning happened. Yeah. Circumstances of the death of Alvin were, got people going on this. So, in other words, none of the evidence goes along with anything happening in 1820. You don't try to find out if God exists 3 years after you saw him face to face. You don't forget how old you were when God comes to New York to say hello and introduce Jesus. I mean, you don't take your family to try to find comfort at these churches where the ministers have taught everyone to hate you and persecute you, like Joseph Smith's story says happened. Everything his family says, everything the brethren say that were supposedly, these apostles in the church, his disciples, contradict this 1820 thing. Okay, and here we got, Brigham Young, Orson Pratt, various apostles giving sermons where they're saying God didn't come to Joseph Smith, but he did send an angel. Anyway, you want to watch this video. It goes through them one by one. And it's very interesting. Here we're showing the contradictions in the various versions of the first vision. Only 13% agreement between all of them on various facts here. Here he is preaching Trinitarian doctrine in the Joseph Smith translation of the Bible. It says that the Son is the Father and the Father is the Son. And you find out that's because the Son reveals it to you. Okay, that's great. So many things are so much different than what we're told in the church. Sunday school lessons don't tell us what really happened early on because they changed the history and invented things that they were not teaching the saints back in those days. That's why nobody knew about the Father and Son visiting Joseph Smith, because he never said that to anybody. At least we don't have any record of it being published before 1842. Interestingly, one of these interviews with William Smith was with Murdoch. James Murdoch, is that it? Joseph Smith's secretary, who was actually the one that wrote that 1842 publishing. Wrote it in 1838. And he's interviewing William Smith in 1841. If I can find it here. And hearing from William Smith, the prophet's brother, that everything got started in 1823, not 1820. And yet he's the guy that wrote this stuff that contradicts everything that we have here as far as historical evidence. Right here. 1841, James Murdoch interviews William Smith. And William Smith tells him it all got started in 1823 with these revivals. So, you want to talk about contradictions and remaking history. That's how you do it. It's called the correlation department for the church. They create history out of nothing. And that's how you do it on the MTV. Mormon Truth videos on the Dodger Game channel. Watch them. Sorry, Kwaku. I guess you guys seem to be telling stories that don't make sense. But God will tell you it's true. even if the facts show us that it's completely wrong. As long as you feel good about it, that's all you need, huh? Even if Joseph Smith's family says that's not the way it happened, his cousin says that's not the way it happened, the apostles say that's not the way it happened. But God will tell you because you'll feel good about it. If you listen to Kwaku and his pals, they'll tell you, I felt good about it. I knew it was true. Jesus told me it was true. It was the Holy Spirit telling me it was true. Except for that guy. He listened to the facts. And so did he, Richard Dutcher. He was an apologist for the church for a while, but he's not even a member anymore. He got into church history and found out that Kwaku and his friends felt good about something that was factually proven to be false. That the church created history for us out of nothing. Sorry, guys. We're going to have to get rid of you.